What's going on YouTube? My name is FG3000. I'm back in the place to be, and this is Lost Ark. So this is Lost Ark. Now, I really like that phrase so much that I've used it a dozen times in the past few days, and I use it purposely because I feel like Lost Ark, more than a lot of other titles, isn't really done justice by just describing the game, the genre, or the history. You know, to say that Lost Ark is a 3-year-old MMO, fixed isometric camera view, ARPG, combat style game for Korea, honestly, that really doesn't tell you much, and in some ways, it actually tells you the wrong story. And you'd be totally forgiven if you took a look at a few screenshots or a trailer and you just assume Lost Ark was just a Diablo or PoE clone, but I ask that you take a second deeper look because once again, so much more than a lot of other games, Lost Ark really benefits quite a bit by showing rather than telling. So once again, this is Lost Ark. So let's start with the meat and potatoes of any MMO, and that is combat. Like it or not, this is something that every player is going to spend a huge majority of their MMO time playing, and Lost Ark is no different. Now, when it comes to combat, this is a feature of Lost Ark where they didn't really have to try hard to get the word out. Everyone that knows anything about Lost Ark has said very positive things about the combat engine. And in my opinion, the combat of Lost Ark is fantastic. It's weighty, it's meaty, it's visceral, it's intense, it has a supreme feeling of impact. Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. And all that wrapped up in a nice tidy package with extremely impressive sound effects, ragdoll physics, gibs, glorious gibs. Dude, I haven't seen an MMO since Age of Conan that actually had blood, guts, and gore. Lost Ark has it. But hey, let's go ahead and take a step back and stay grounded in reality, shall we? I personally feel that isometric ARPG combat long hit its peak years and years ago, and that's not a dig at Lost Ark whatsoever. All I'm saying is that if you played games like Diablo, Path of Exile, Torchlight, you've already seen pretty much the creme de la creme of ARPG isometric combat. Lost Ark is right there, right? It's right there at the top of the ceiling with really good company of the juggernauts of the genre. It's just not gonna blow you away. So in other words, Lost Ark is probably equal to or very close to some of the best ARPG combats you've ever seen. Just don't expect anything that's gonna blow you away. So all that leads me to a feature here in Lost Ark that allows players to change skills and change the way they function at a core level. So you might start off with an ability that only does raw damage, but if you add a few skill points, you can add a burning effect or freeze, or there's some aspects that are a little bit more straightforward, like cooldown reduction, attack speed boost. So while I do feel that Lost Ark absolutely holds its own against other isometric ARPG combat systems, when it comes to modifying your skills, it definitely is surpassed by Path of Exile and Diablo, which, let's be honest, it's no surprise because those games really have to lean heavy on their combat systems quite a bit more than Lost Ark, as they don't have the scope of Lost Ark, and that's by design. And the scope is a really important aspect of Lost Ark, and this is where the comparisons to Diablo and Path of Exile just completely cease, because those games simply do not have the scope of Lost Ark, because Lost Ark is a true MMO. I basically told anyone that listened that as soon as you join your first few dungeons here in Lost Ark, it begins to click. The dungeons, the boss encounters are some of the most impressive that I've ever seen in an MMO, and I've played nearly every major MMO release since EverQuest, and I'm extremely confident in saying that no MMO ever in the history of MMO has had dungeons and boss encounters this impressive so early in the game. I made a joke the other day on stream. By the way, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe my YouTube channel for more content and more live streams on Lost Ark. So I made a joke the other day comparing what you normally do around level 20 in other MMOs versus what you're doing in Lost Ark. And the example that I used was World of Warcraft. Like in World of Warcraft, I think I was like in Thousand Needles somewhere picking up herbs and spices off the ground. Meanwhile, in Lost Ark, dude, I'm in this Lord of the Rings style siege battle. Like it can't even be compared. And this is content that you can see day one in your adventure in Lost Ark. Skill modification, you can do that day one. Hard mode content, you can do day one. Matchmaking with other players, all that stuff is done day one. You can even join voice chat, talk to your party. Nobody's on it, but you can do it. All this is available day one. So you might be sitting there asking yourself, FG, what's the catch? All this stuff sounds great. So the catch, if you can call it a catch, is that this amazing world, this fantastic combat system, the dungeons, the raiding, the Michael Bay level set pieces is all wrapped around, you know, kind of a ho-hum typical MMO experience. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know, the type of MMO where you go from quest hub to quest hub, killing 10 bandits, you know, picking things off the ground, giving them the NPCs, you know, milking cows, things of that nature that you've seen 1,000 times in other MMOs. But in my opinion, if you are okay with revisiting that very familiar dance floor with the very typical MMO song and dance, there is a ton to enjoy here in Lost Ark. Such as FG, such as if you get tired of wiping in dungeons and raid bosses, you can then proceed to get wiped in PvP proving grounds. And this is a PvP system where your item level and your skills are completely normalized. So the only thing that you can rely on is your skill itself. Okay, so to recap, you got combat, you got dungeons, you got raids, you got PvP, all extremely impressive in Lost Ark, and I'd argue some of the best we've seen on Western shores. But what else makes Lost Ark an MMO? Well, this is also Lost Ark. So trying to sum up the entirety of Lost Ark, especially for a newer player, is a pretty daunting task, right? This is like trying to sum up all of World of Warcraft up to the Lich King expansion in just a single video. But just know, Lost Ark is mini games, it's events, it's sailing, it's, you know, hunting for secrets, gathering, crafting, you know, decorating your stronghold, which just might be the largest piece of housing that I've ever seen given to a player for free in an MMO. So for comparison, in EverQuest 2, the very first piece of housing that game gives you is a shoddy studio apartment with crumbling floors. Meanwhile, Lost Ark gives you an entire island to decorate that already has citizens living there. Like, where'd they come from? I don't know these people. And that massive stronghold also comes with features that equates to basically like a WoW garrison on steroids, which may or may not be a good thing depending on who you are. So FG, I'm convinced all this sounds great, but one last question. Is Lost Ark pay to win? Now, I think that's actually a pretty fair question considering, you know, Korean MMOs over the years have kind of built up a reputation, not to mention that this game is brought to you by Smilegate, which operates an extremely successful, definitely pay-to-win gacha game by the name of Epic 7. However, this is something that I feel like I need to defer to the experts that have actually been playing the game for a long period of time, and the overall consensus is that Lost Ark is not pay-to-win. Now, there are some items in this shop that can be bought with real money, put on the auction house, then exchange for in-game gold, and maybe through that process you can correlate that to, you know, a stat boost or two. But based on what I've seen that is required from a player in the highest tier of content in this game, your item score is not, absolutely not going to be an I win button, and not even close. Like, these look like some of the most intense involved raids I have ever seen this side of Final Fantasy XIV. So understanding the mechanics is really going to be your only true way to victory here in Lost Ark. So the final question has got to be FG. Do you recommend Lost Ark, and is it worth playing? Absolutely yes. In my opinion, this is one of the best MMOs to see a Western release since World of Warcraft launched in 2004. Oh my God, holy crap. And Final Fantasy came back in 2013. So quite literally, Lost Ark can be seen as the best MMO release in well over a decade. So for that fact alone, if you are a fan of MMOs or just a fan of online games and RPGs in general, you do not want to miss this. And did I mention that this game is free to play, by the way? This is Lost Ark.